All right, good morning. Morning, everyone. I hope you've had a great sleep. And so thank you for joining us this morning. Once again, we want to talk about compassion. We know that God is full of compassion. Jesus mirrored God's compassion. He was full of compassion. And because he was full of compassion, he brought relief to anyone he saw suffering. And so, but also here's a truth I want us to look at this morning is that God's full of compassion, Christ was full of compassion, and Jesus wants you and I to grow in compassion. And one of the amazing stories in the Bible, or one of the most famous parables, is the parable of the Good Samaritan. What triggers this parable is a man comes to Jesus and asks, what is the greatest commandment? And so Jesus turns around and says, the greatest commandment is that you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Then this man goes on to ask, what does it mean to love your neighbor, or what does loving your neighbor look like? And so Jesus then gives him this parable of the Samaritan. And we're going to read it together this morning so that we can learn what it means to grow in compassion. So Luke chapter 10, verse 30 says, Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes and beat him up and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed by. And the temple assistant walked over, looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then put the man on his own donkey, took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I will pay you the next time I am here. Now, which of these three was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by the bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, the one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said, yes, now go do the same. See, Christ wants us to grow in compassion. And this story pretty much illustrates what compassion is. That compassion is doing something. Is when you see someone that is broken, when you see someone that is in pain, when you see someone that is suffering, you just don't have sympathy for them. You just don't have empathy for them, but you actually go the extra mile to do something about it. You know, we've been going through a crisis right now in our lives. We're going through COVID-19. And there are many people that are going through a difficult time, many people in pain, many people who are suffering, many people who need help. And I want to challenge us that yes, we've been in isolation, we've been social distancing for a while, but have you shown compassion? Have you thought of people that are in your life or people that are in your area, in your community, that can't make ends meet, that might not have the resources to be able to buy their groceries like they used to? Have you extended a helping hand? Have you gone and helped someone else? Here's the Levite and the priest. These people are meant to be the religious folks of their time. They're meant to be the representatives of God in their time. But yet, you find them when they are given a chance to represent God, to show compassion, given a chance to represent Christ, to show compassion, they turn a blind eye and walk by, pass by, and they don't meet a need. You and I are called to be Christians, and we're called to be full of compassion. We're called to be compassionate and to meet the needs of people. In fact, Matthew chapter 25, verse 34 to 40, here's Jesus in eternity at the judgment seat of Christ. And in fact, let's just read it and you can get the gist of this. Matthew chapter 25, verse 34 says this, then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by the Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then these righteous ones will reply, Lord, When did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we see you sick and in prison and visit you?" And the king will say, "I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of these my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me." When you show compassion, when you meet a need, you're being like Jesus. When you meet a need in someone else's life, you're representing Christ. You're showing people around you what Christ is like and what God is like. You're moving with compassion. And so I want to encourage you today, this week rather, maybe find someone that is in need and meet them in their need. Maybe it just takes you going down to Tesco's as you go through your own groceries and buying 2 bags and dropping them at the door of someone that's in need. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe it's just dropping an envelope with some cash in it at someone you know that is in need and helping them out. We're called to meet the need of those in pain and those who are suffering. Listen, I hope I hope those words made sense, and I hope you have a fantastic day today. We'll see you all soon. Take care and God bless.